Welcome to Nuke's Fitness Podcast. My name is Manouk Vink, and after having struggled with my body image and my fitness journey for more than 10 years, leading me to all sorts of extremes, I have now finally cracked the code on how you can achieve a fit and toned physique without extremes and restrictions. Now, being a certified nutritionist and personal trainer, I have made it my mission to help women achieve their body goals by feeling empowered through fitness instead of being afraid of foods and being controlled by the fitness industry. In this podcast, I will be sharing with you tried and true methods on how you can finally achieve your dream body and tell you the secrets most coaches won't. So if you are tired of working your ass off without getting results, or you feel like you're putting in all the work but not seeing change in the mirror, this podcast is for you. I will be dropping some fitness truth bombs so you can start taking control of your body goals while still enjoying life. Thank you so much for listening and enjoy the show. All right. Hello. Welcome to another episode of Nuke's Fitness Podcast. This mic, if you're watching me on YouTube, you can see this mic keeps sinking and I can't get it to stay upright. So stupid. Anyways, welcome to another episode of Nuke's Fitness Podcast. In today's episode, we're going to touch upon a topic that we have not touched upon yet. And it's one of the biggest, if not the biggest, apart from training, topics when it comes to you achieving your body goals. And that is, of course, nutrition. How are you going to achieve your body goals if you're not tackling your nutrition? And we've all heard it before. It's 20% training and 80% nutrition. And yes, in some ways that is true. In other ways that is not. But we are going to dive into what you should be focusing on to achieve a toned physique when you're training and what you should be focusing on nutrition-wise to achieve those results. Because believe me, you can be training all you want, but if you're not tackling the nutrition part of things, then you're not going to get the results that you want. So, one of the biggest things that I want you to realize and to understand is that if you're looking to lose weight, most of the times we think we should be exercising more. And yes, although that is partially true, you can achieve weight loss with just changing your diet. So when you think of training, most of the time, exercise and training is really just there to shape your body. So when it comes to fat loss and when it comes to weight loss, you got to look mainly at your nutrition. So let me break this down for you a little bit. When you're burning calories throughout the day, the majority of the calories that you burn are in rest. So which means if you're going to lay in your bed all day and do absolutely nothing and just lay still, not even blink, not even you should breathe, but do absolutely nothing, you would burn the majority of your calories doing that. There's only a small percentage that gets burnt through exercise. And even then, that there are other things that contribute to you burning calories throughout the day. So basically, you've got your BMR. So that's your basal metabolic rate, which is basically the calories you burn if you were to do absolutely nothing, like nothing. Then you've got NEAT calories, which is non-exercise activity thermogenesis, if I'm saying that correctly, which is equal to the amount of calories you burn by basically blinking, moving your lips when you talk, breathing, all those movements that you make, twitching, things that you don't even realize that you're doing. And then you've got the thermogenic effect of food, which also adds into the equation of how many calories you burn. And that is basically the energy it costs for you to break down food that you eat. And then lastly, if you look at a pie chart, which I've shared on my Instagram before, but you can look it up online and you look at the pie chart of how many calories you burn throughout the day, BMR takes up about, so your basal metabolic rate takes up about, let's say like 70% of how much you burn throughout the day, if not more. Don't quote me on this because I don't have the percentages right. I just know that the majority of the calories that you burn is basically by you doing nothing. The rest is non-exercise activity, and then after that, thermogenic effect of food and exercise. So that's like a small corner of how much you burn throughout the day. So when you look at the grand scheme of things, you burn the most amount of calories by just resting and not by exercise. So if you're looking to lose fat or to lose weight, then you shouldn't be focusing as much on exercise as you should be to your nutrition to get that result. However, if you're looking to sculpt your body and become stronger and shape your body, that's what weight training is for. So weightlifting, weight training, strength training, this is so important for you to shape your body. So you can lose weight by just tackling your nutrition, but you can't shape your body by just tackling your nutrition. You need to do training for that. And then exercise can also be used as a tool to increase your calorie burning by a small percentage. So it's not a large amount, but by a small percent. So this is why nutrition is so incredibly important. And not only that, we're going to break it down a little bit. Nutrition has an effect on many factors. So of course you can eat for weight loss, but you can also eat for fat loss and muscle gain. So there's so many things and factors that you need to take into consideration depending on what your goal is. And of course, then we've got the huge topic, diets. So I'm sure we've all been there. We've all tried a diet before, and most of the diets that we've tried are tailored towards weight loss. And the reason that most of the diets work for a short amount of time is because they're all putting you in a calorie deficit. So like I was saying earlier, you have the amount of calories that you burn throughout the day. And the only way you are going to lose weight is if you burn more calories than you eat. So if that total, for example, of calories that you burn throughout the day is 1,500 calories, then you need to be eating 1,400 calories or below to lose weight, right? So you could do that without adding in any exercise, because if you just lower your calories, you'll lose weight. Then you need to start looking at other factors. So if you're training and you want to build muscle, but you also want to lose fat, then you start looking at the macros. So then you start looking at how much protein you should be getting in, how many fats you should be getting in, and how many carbs you should be getting in. So that's sort of how you use nutrition as a tool. And the reason that diets don't work is because they only focus on, mainly a lot of the time, depending on what diet you follow, on the weight loss aspect of it. And they give you short-term results. That's because the diet industry is a $72 billion industry, which means they are literally designed to fail. They are made for you to get results in a short amount of time, or a shorter amount of time than if you were to do anything else, and then not be able to stick to it, because a lot of the time these diets are things that you can't stick to long term. Let me take, for example, I've heard of a potato diet where all you do is eat potatoes in any shape or form, and people lose weight. And guess why they lose weight? Because they're eating in a calorie deficit. It has nothing to do with anything else. So they're eating in a calorie deficit, so they're losing weight. They think it works, but then they realize, I can't be only eating potatoes for the rest of my life, right? So what happens after that is you start going back to your old routine. You start eating the things that you used to eat because you've hit your goal weight. So now I'll just go back to what I used to be doing. And that's where the mistake is made, because when you go back to what you used to be doing, your body has adapted to this diet and to these lower calories, and then you go back to what you used to be eating, so you gain all the weight back, and if not more, which leads you to trying out a new diet so that you get those results again. And most likely the new diet that you're going to try is going to leave out another food group. Take, for example, the low carb diet. The low carb diet most of the time doesn't include carbs in their diet. So all of these diets are designed so that you get quick results, but they're not lasting, so that you go back and try another diet and spend more money on a new diet that you're going to try. And you stay in this vicious cycle where you're getting fleeting results and then falling off the bandwagon or going back to what you used to be doing and gaining the weight back, and sometimes gaining more than just that weight back because your body is so confused by everything that you're doing to it. So how do we fix this? Well, we stop following a diet. We just start changing our nutrition depending on our goals. And to do that, you need to be clear on what your goal is. And here's another tricky thing, because this is what I also do in my challenge. A lot of the times we start following whatever the girl we saw online is doing, and then we're surprised that we're not seeing the results that we want because that girl must be doing it. She's getting results. Why am I not getting results? That's because that girl has a different body and maybe is working towards a different goal than you. Even though she may look the way that you want to look, doesn't mean she did the same things to get there that you need to do. If that makes sense. Because if she was a skinnier girl and she was looking to put on weight because it was difficult for her to create shape, because it was harder for her to put on muscle and to put on weight, then maybe you shouldn't be following her diet if you're struggling to lose weight and struggling to lower your fat percentage and build muscle at the same time. If you are a skinnier girl, or as they call skinny fat, where you want to put on muscle and get more shape in your body, but you're really struggling to do that, and you're following a girl who's continuously in a calorie deficit and following these extreme diets to get her results, you shouldn't be surprised that you're not getting the results that she is, because your body is completely different than her body and she's probably using a different approach than you are. So you got to be extremely clear on where you're at in your fitness stage, what you're doing to achieve your goals at the moment, and what you need to change to get to your specific goal. So for example, if we take our imaginary Jane again, and she is struggling to get shape in her body, she's working out a lot, she's doing a lot of exercise, she's eating in a calorie deficit, and she's not seeing the results that she wants. She's not growing her glutes, she's not seeing definition in her arms, she's not seeing the muscle growth that she's looking for, and she feels like she's not really getting that lean, toned, sculpted look that she's looking for. She's just looking skinny without shape. Maybe that's because Jane is not working towards the right goal. So let's take the training out of the equation for now. But if we look at Jane's nutrition and she's only doing a calorie deficit, is she taking into consideration how much protein she should be getting in? And is she taking into consideration that maybe she should be eating more rather than less to achieve her results? So it's so specific to what your goal is. If you're trying to build muscle and lose fat at the same time, maybe you shouldn't be in an extreme calorie deficit. Maybe you should be eating in a slight surplus and increasing your proteins. But that is so dependent on where you're at in your fitness journey and what you're doing to get there. So when it comes to nutrition, it needs to be, and really you shaping your body, so molding your body, it needs to work in harmony with the training that you are doing. You need to have a balance between the two, because if you're following a good diet and you're not training in the correct way, then yes, you will lose weight, or you will shape up a little bit, but you won't get the muscle growth, muscle definition, the sculpted, toned look that you want if you're not doing the right training regime. If you're doing the right training regime, but you're not adjusting your nutrition, you'll get a little bit of muscle growth, you'll get a bit more shape, but you won't get the real results that you're after. Take me, for example. If you look at my bodybuilding pictures, if I train exactly how I did then and didn't change anything about my nutrition right now, then I wouldn't look like that. So I could be implementing the exact same training regime, but keeping my diet as it is now, but I wouldn't look as lean and as ripped as I was in my bodybuilding competition. Okay? The same thing goes the other way around, but a little bit different. So if I followed the same diet, but I didn't do the training, I just probably lose a lot of weight and not get the shape that I want. So they need to work in harmony with one another. They need to work in harmony with one another, and you need to make sure that you're focusing on the right things. So if you are looking to lean out and build muscle, there are a couple of things that you need to focus on. Depending on your body type, you need to either be in a slight calorie deficit, like slight, not saying 1,200 calories, bump it up a little bit, depending on your height and your weight. It is all so specific to what your body is, and we do have calculators for this. You can go to www.tdeecalculator.com, and it can even give you like quite good macros depending on your height and your weight. Never follow someone else's macros because every body is different. And that is why I do advise you have a coach or you join a membership like NUSA so that you can get your specific macros and you can be coached through it, because then you'll get the best results and you won't harm your metabolism. But depending on where you're at, you need to be in a slight calorie deficit, and you 100% should be increasing your proteins, which means majority of the time you should be eating about, depending on pounds, it's 1 gram per pound of weight and 2 grams of protein per kilogram of weight for your weight. So if you are 140 pounds, then you should probably be eating around 140 grams of protein a day to get the best results. If you are 70 kilograms, you should be also eating 140 grams of protein a day. So 2 times the amount of grams in kilograms and 1 time the amount of pounds in grams for protein. Am I saying this right? I have no idea if this is making any sense, but I hope it does make sense. So 70 kilograms, you eat 140 grams of protein, 140 pounds, you eat 140 grams of protein. So these people are around the same weight. So they're eating about the same amount of protein depending on their weight. So these are the main things that you should focus on. And then when it comes to fats and carbs, we are so terrified of carbs, but they are just the quickest source of energy. That is all it is. So when it comes to balance, the one thing that I want you to focus on is prioritize your protein in your diet. After that, with the rest of the calories that you have to spend throughout the day, you can balance it out between fats and carbs depending to your liking. So you should have a balance of both, but if you enjoy eating more fats, then eat more fats. You'll probably get less volume food. If you prefer eating more carbs, then eat more carbs. As long as you stick to the amount of calories you should be eating for your specific goal and you hit your protein goal. If your goal is getting more toned, so building muscle and losing fat. And then again, this is just a general explanation for what you should be focusing on when it comes to nutrition and not to your specific goals. For your specific goals, I highly advise you make sure you get the macros for you, for where you're at in your fitness stage, for your body, for everything, and implement that. And that is what we tackle inside NUSA membership. I give you all the tools to calculate this. And if you're in our full membership, I coach you through how you can calculate that, how you can implement these steps, and what you should be focusing on when it comes to your specific goal and your specific body type and your training regime. that we also work on. Other than that, if this all sounds too confusing, take one small step and just make sure you're getting at least one source of 20 to 30 grams of protein per meal in a day. And that is it. It doesn't need to be a fancy, crazy crash diet. It doesn't need to be a potato diet. It doesn't need to be a keto diet. It doesn't need to be a small plate diet where you use a smaller plate. It doesn't need to be any of these crazy diets for you to get the results that you want. All you have to focus on is your calorie intake and the amount of proteins that you're getting in. After that, you have free reign to sort of do what you want to do. And that means that, of course, the best thing to do is to eat the cleanest sources of food, so the least processed foods and the most amount of like full natural foods, because also you'll be fuller eating like a chicken cutlet rather than a processed takeaway meal. I don't know. Like, or of course you're going to feel fuller if you eat a full meal instead of a protein cookie. But of course you can balance these things out. If you feel like eating an Oreo, then eat an Oreo. If it fits within your macros and your calories and you're hitting your protein goal, that's how simple it can be. That is literally how simple it can be. It doesn't need to be a crazy diet. There is no crazy magic to that. It has to do just with these basics. And once I started understanding that, I realized I didn't need to be eating fish and broccoli to achieve the results that I wanted. It was all about the calories and the proteins that I was getting in, and that was it. That was it. And of course, the less processed food you eat, the better. That is all that it's about. And that's what you need to focus on when you want to achieve your body goals. So no food is bad nor good. It's all the same. It's just depending on what you're using it for. So if you want to kill a craving and you want to eat a bar of chocolate and it fits within your calories and it fits within your macros, and you're going to feel happy for eating that bar of chocolate and you're not going to go off the bandwagon by eating that bar of chocolate, then good for you. It's not necessarily bad. It's what you desire right now. And if you're sticking to the rest of your goals, then you're good. If you want to fuel your body and have a healthy meal, and you want to do that by eating chicken and potatoes and some veggies on the side with a little bit of sauce, fantastic. That's really good. So it just depends on what you're using the food source for. And when we stop labeling things as good or bad and we just focus on the nutrients and what it is going to do for us in that moment and how it's going to serve our goal in the future, then that's all that it's about. So we need to stop overcomplicating nutrition. And I know this was even a lot of information within this little podcast. That is why I highly advise you join my challenge that I am hosting on the 7th of October again, because then we will go a little deeper into what you should be focusing on to achieve your body goals. And obviously, when you join my membership, we will really dive into the nitty-gritty of it, go even deeper, specific on your goals, so that you can finally break free from the diet cycle and achieve the results you've always wanted to achieve without restricting your diet and by eating all the foods that you love, because that's what we want. We want to break free from the diet culture. We want to no longer feel deflated and defeated by the fitness industry. We want to feel empowered and in control of our fitness goals. And that is what I'm all about. And that is why I share all this information with you. So if you haven't joined already, I'm hosting my challenge again on the 7th of October. Click the link in the show notes and you can join me on the 7th of October. Otherwise, I hope this was a valuable podcast for you. We dove a little bit into a lot of nutrition into such a small amount of time. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us at info@nukesfitness.com, and I will be happy to answer any of your questions. Anyways, thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this podcast, and I can't wait to have you here next week. If you enjoyed listening to this podcast and you feel like you got a lot of value out of it, it would mean the world to me if you would rate and review the podcast and share it with someone who you feel like would get a lot of value out of it. In the meantime, come hang out with me on my Instagram at @ManoukFink, or join my challenge, which will be linked in the show notes. It's academy.nukesfitness.com/join-challenge. If you can't remember that name, check the links in the show notes, and I hope to see you there.